Amina stared at the glowing screen in her hand. The words pulsed back at her like a heartbeat. "You will pay for what you've done." Her thumb trembled over the phone, but she didn't reply. Not tonight, not anymore. Instead, she opened the curtains wider. Kano at night glittered like 1,000 tiny secrets. The city had swallowed her pain before. Now it fed her courage. She placed the phone on the dresser and looked at the wedding picture again. The red X across her face looked almost like war paint now. She inhaled slowly, shoulders rising, and then exhaled, her jaw tightening. "No more running," she whispered to her reflection in the glass. "If they want a war, let them come." The knock on her door came soft at first, then firmer. "Room service," a male voice said, but she hadn't ordered anything. Her hand hovered over the handle. Another knock. This time, the voice was calmer but deeper. "Madame Amina, Mama Zainab sent me." She stepped back, heart slamming against her ribs. Mama Zainab would never send someone without calling first. She slid her phone into her dress pocket and reached for the small canister of pepper spray Mama Zainab had pressed into her hand weeks ago. She cracked the door open just enough to see one brown eye staring back. The man in the hallway wore a hotel uniform, but the name tag glinted oddly under the hallway light. She glanced down. The shoes were wrong. Not hotel shoes, army boots. Amina's mind raced. Should she scream? Should she shut the door and lock it? The man leaned closer. "Madam Amina," he smiled too widely. "They said you would understand." Amina's fingers tightened on the pepper spray. Her pulse thumped in her ears. The man in the hallway tilted his head like a predator considering prey. "Open the door fully," he said softly. "It's safer." She shut it instead. A clean, firm click. The chain lock slid into place. She backed away slowly, forcing her breathing to slow down. Mama Zainab had taught her this. Danger is loud, but courage is silent. Her phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "If you don't come with him, the video goes public." Video? What video? She scrolled down. A grainy thumbnail, her in the hotel gym, sweating, crying on a treadmill months ago. It wasn't incriminating, but the caption under it read, "This is just the beginning." Amina's stomach turned. She'd built her new public image carefully, poised, disciplined, resilient. She couldn't let anyone weaponize her past. She looked back at the door. The man was still outside. His shadow moved across the crack of light under the door. Amina pressed Mama Zainab's number. Voicemail. Her mind raced. The gala was tomorrow, a televised event. Every powerful person in Abuja would be there. And someone wanted her off the board before she got near a microphone. She remembered Mama Zainab's words from 6 months ago, sitting at a roadside buka peeling roasted plantain. "Courage isn't about fighting, it's about standing even when you're shaking." Amina wasn't the woman who hid in bathrooms anymore. She squared her shoulders, opened her wardrobe, and slipped on a cropped denim jacket over her Ankara dress. Her eyes flicked to the mirror. She almost didn't recognize herself. Collarbones sharp, gaze steady. She texted a single word to Mama Zainab. "Trap." Then she dialed the hotel desk. "This is room 709, she whispered. "There's a man outside my door, says he's room service." "Stay inside," the receptionist said immediately. "Security is on the way." But the shadow under her door moved again. This time the knock came louder, harder. "Madam Amina, last chance." She slipped the pepper spray into her palm and moved closer to the balcony doors. The city outside glittered with a million lights. Down below, horns blared. Another buzz from her phone. "We are inside already." Inside? She spun around. The bathroom door, she'd left it ajar. A second man stepped out. He was lean, wearing black, a surgical mask covering his face. In his hands, not a weapon, but a phone, filming her. "Smile," he said in a low tone. "They want you scared on camera." Who is threatening Amina? Will she escape? Drop your predictions in the comments. Like this video if you're on the edge of your seat. Subscribe for next chapter where Amina fights back. Turn on notifications. This story is getting intense. Amina inhaled sharply but didn't scream. Instead, she hurled the pepper spray straight at his eyes and lunged. The can hissed. He staggered back, coughing. She grabbed his phone, slammed it to the floor, and stomped until the screen shattered. He tried to recover, reaching for her wrist, but Amina drove her knee into his stomach hard. He collapsed against the wall, groaning. The hallway man started to pound on the door. "What's happening?" Amina snatched her handbag, the wedding photos still inside. She bolted for the balcony, kicked off her heels, and climbed onto the narrow ledge. 7 floors up, wind against her face, a swimming pool glittering below. She didn't jump. She just shouted loud enough for every guest outside to hear. "Help! Intruder!" Doors opened across the hallway. Voices rose. The pounding stopped. The hotel alarm blared. Security stormed the corridor. Amina held on to the balcony rail, trembling but unbroken. 20 minutes later, she sat in the hotel lounge wrapped in a blanket, sipping water. Police questioned the 2 men. Guests whispered, snapping photos. The old Amina would have hidden, but this Amina lifted her chin. One officer approached. "Madam, you're very lucky. Whoever these men are, they're not amateurs." She gave him a level look. "I'm not lucky," she said quietly. "I'm ready." As they led the intruders away, Amina's phone buzzed once more. A new message. "Nice move. See you at the gala." Her grip tightened. The game wasn't over, but she had survived round 1. She stood, straightened her Ankara dress, and began to walk toward the elevator. Mama Zainab's words echoed in her head. Courage isn't about fighting, it's about standing, even when you're shaking. She pressed the elevator button, her reflection staring back from the polished steel doors. The collarbones were real, the strength was real, and tomorrow, on that stage, the world would see it too. The morning sun cracked through the hotel curtains like a blade. Amina woke from a thin sleep. Her phone buzzed. News headlines flooded her notifications. Amina Ibrahim trends overnight after powerful speech. New face of women's health movement. Is Amina Nigeria's next national voice for mothers? She sat up slowly, hands pressed to her face. For the first time in years, her name was everywhere. But behind the praise were hundreds of messages from unknown numbers, some admiring, some threatening. She muted the phone and rose. Her children were her first thought. She video-called them. "Mommy," they squealed. "Mommy, you were on TV. Mommy, you look like a queen now." Amina's heart melted. "I miss you," she whispered. "Be good for Mama Zainab until I come back." "Okay." "Yes, Mommy," they chorused, their small voices pulling at her heart. When the call ended, she felt a stab of guilt. Her children were her anchor. Yet for years, she had been invisible even to herself. She promised silently, whatever this new life brings, they will not suffer. 2 days later, she returned home. The car from the ministry rolled to a stop in front of her gate. Children ran behind it, shouting her name. Mama Zainab danced at the gate, wrapper tied high. Cameras flashed, neighbors pressed closer to glimpse her. Amina stepped out, wearing a simple cream dress. Her figure was graceful but understated. No glamour, just quiet power. She hugged Mama Zainab tightly. Bashir watched from an upstairs window. His eyes were hollow, his shirt wrinkled. He hadn't eaten in days. Hawa was gone, her number switched off, her family disowning her after the scandal broke. The company that had once courted him had withdrawn their contract. Now he stood at the same window where he had once sneered at Amina and whispered to himself, "What have I done?" Bashir is broken. But will Amina forgive him? What would you do? Comment below. Smash that like button if you're hooked. Subscribe for next chapter where Amina faces her biggest decision yet. Don't miss what happens next. That evening, after the cameras left, Bashir knocked on her sitting room door. Amina opened it, children beside her. Bashir stepped inside and dropped to his knees. "Amina, please," he whispered. "I was blind. I didn't see who you were. Forgive me." The children stared. Mama Zainab froze in the corner, clutching her Quran. Amina's face softened for a moment, then firmed. "Home," she said quietly. "This house stopped being a home when you chose shame over love." Bashir's tears splashed onto the tiled floor. "I can change," he said. "I've lost everything, but I don't want to lose you and the kids." Amina looked at her children. Their eyes were wide, waiting. This wasn't just a choice about love. It was about the story her children would grow up believing. That night, after the children were asleep, Mama Zainab sat with Amina on the veranda. "My daughter, what will you do?" she asked softly. Amina stared at the stars. "I don't know yet. My heart forgives, but my trust is gone, and there's still someone out there sending threats." Mama Zainab squeezed her hand in silence, letting her make her own decision. The next day, Amina went to her office at the new foundation headquarters. Cameras waited outside. Inside, volunteers and nutritionists worked furiously. She felt a rush of joy. This was bigger than her pain now. Then, late afternoon, an email arrived. Subject: Your children. Inside was a photo of her two youngest walking home from school with Mama Zainab's helper. No words, just the picture. Amina's stomach dropped. She closed the laptop slowly, her hands trembling. The threats had moved closer. She called Mama Zainab immediately. "Don't panic," Mama Zainab said, though her voice quivered. "We will increase security. You are not alone." Amina took a deep breath. She realized something. The more visible she became, the more dangerous it was for her family, but it also meant the more power she had to protect them. She called the ministry, requested immediate security for her children and staff, and quietly began compiling every suspicious message into a file labeled evidence. That night, she gathered her children in the living room. "Mommy," the oldest asked, "is Daddy coming back?" Amina knelt down. "Daddy has made mistakes," she said carefully, "but we're going to be okay. You're safe, you're loved, and Mommy is fighting for a better future." Her daughter touched her cheek. "You're strong now, Mommy." Amina smiled. "Stronger than I've ever been." In the quiet of her bedroom, Amina stood again before the cracked mirror. But now the mirror didn't seem so small. Her reflection stared back, not just slimmer but steadier, like a tree rooted deep in the earth. She whispered, "They want to break me. They don't understand. I've already been broken and rebuilt." Somewhere outside, a car engine idled for a moment, then drove off. Amina heard it but didn't flinch. She closed the curtains, reached for her journal, and wrote at the top of the page, "Hope is not a feeling, it's a decision." She underlined it twice. Then she began to plan the next morning's seminar on women's safety, this time including a special session on protecting your family while building your future. The threats are escalating. How will Amina protect her family? Should she let Bashir back in? Type your answer in the comments, like if you're inspired by Amina's strength. Subscribe for next chapter, where the stalker is finally revealed. You won't believe who it is. The compound smelled of rain and fried plantain. Amina's foundation had moved into its second phase, and she was busier than ever. But home life had become its own war zone. Every evening, Bashir appeared at the gate, sometimes with flowers, sometimes with groceries, sometimes with nothing but his broken eyes. Mama Zainab refused to let him in unless Amina gave permission. "Please, Mama Zainab," he would beg, "just let me see my children." "They're not toys, Bashir," Mama Zainab would reply, her voice hard. "You lost that privilege when you betrayed their mother." Inside the house, the children whispered about Daddy. The youngest two missed him deeply. The oldest, Khadija, had seen the shouting matches and the late-night texts from Auntie Hawa. She had made up her mind. "Why can't Daddy just stay away?" she muttered, arms crossed, when Amina tucked her in. "Baby, people can change," Amina said carefully. "But change takes time, and trust must be rebuilt." Khadijah's eyes flashed. "He didn't care about trust when he hurt you." Amina felt a pang, the same mix of love and fury she'd been swallowing for months. Bashir began showing up at the foundation headquarters. He donated 500,000 naira to one of the programs. He posted pictures online praising Amina's courage and vision. Newspapers started calling him the repentant husband. But Amina knew PR moves when she saw them. She'd built enough campaigns to smell one. One evening, she confronted him in the car park. "You can't buy back what you broke," she said, arms folded. Bashir's voice cracked. "I'm not buying, I'm begging. I've lost my job, my contracts, my image. I can live with that, but I can't live without my family." Amina stared at him, silent. For a second, she saw the young man who had once courted her under mango trees, who used to make her laugh until her stomach hurt. Then her phone buzzed. "As foolish and weak as you've always been." The private number again. Amina's heart iced over. Someone wanted her to believe Bashir was still dangerous. But who? Investigation had been going on underneath to track the sender. The men taken into detention had refused to talk, despite tough questioning. Amina silently prayed the stalker would be caught soon. Although she appeared strong, she was filled with silent fears. One Sunday afternoon, Bashir finally crossed the threshold. He waited until Mama Zainab went to the mosque, then slipped through the side gate as the children let him in. Amina came home to find him on the sofa, her hands clenched. "You shouldn't be here." "Please, Amina," he said, rising. "Just give me 1 hour." He spoke quickly about therapy, about accountability groups, about changing his life. His voice trembled. The children hovered at the door, holding their breath. "Daddy is sorry," little Ibrahim whispered. Amina closed her eyes. Memories flickered, nights alone, debts paid off silently, whispers of fat and useless thrown at her in the kitchen. When she opened her eyes again, they were steel. "You can visit the children," she said finally, "but you and I are not husband and wife anymore. I choose peace." Bashir sank to his knees, shaking. The children gasped. Khadijah pulled Ibrahim back, tears in her eyes. The following weeks were chaotic. Some days the children refused to eat until Daddy came. Some days they clung to Amina, refusing to see him at all. Mama Zainab held the fort, praying louder than ever. Amina set boundaries, supervised visits, no overnight stays, no public stunts from Bashir. At first, he resisted, then slowly complied. He enrolled in counselling. He sent the children school supplies. He began to disappear from gossip blogs. At night, Amina still received the anonymous messages, but her heart no longer raced. Each threat was now a reminder of how far she had climbed, from despair to control. Boundaries are set. But who is the mysterious stalker? Drop your theory in the comments, like if you support Amina's decision. Subscribe for the final chapter where the stalker is finally caught and everything is revealed. This ending will shock you. The day began with rain drumming on the hotel roof like a warning. Amina had flown to Abuja for a live TV panel on women's safety. Bashir had driven the children to school, texting her photos of their uniforms and smiling faces. It was the first week in months he'd been allowed that privilege. Just before she went on air, Amina's phone buzzed again. "Today it ends. You will pay for the life you stole." This time, Amina didn't feel the usual panic. She turned the phone face down and looked at the producers. "Can you give me the studio CCTV footage after my segment?" she asked calmly. They nodded, confused. That night, Amina returned to her hotel suite. A knock came at the door, 3 knocks, then silence. Her pulse thumped, but her eyes stayed steady. She had told hotel security to be ready. She'd even looped in a private investigator Mama Zainab knew from the mosque. She opened the door. A hotel staff member in a blue jacket stood there, holding a padded envelope. He smiled faintly, but his hands shook. Amina reached out, took the envelope and stepped aside. "Come in." He hesitated, then stepped inside. Security guards slipped in behind him, closing the door. "Sir, you're on camera," one of them said. "Empty your pockets." The man's composure cracked. He dropped his phone. The investigator snatched it and began scrolling. Within seconds, the truth blinked on the screen. The threatening messages hadn't come from Bashir. They hadn't even come from Hawa. They had come from Hawa's older brother, Usman, the same brother who'd introduced Bashir to certain shady contracts years ago, and who blamed Amina for turning Bashir into a weak man and ruining the family name. He had been paying hotel staff to deliver notes and photos, hoping to scare Amina off her foundation and destroy her credibility. "Why?" Amina asked quietly. Usman spat on the carpet. "You think you're a saint. You took my sister's man. You took his contracts. You made him a joke. Now you're on TV every day. You don't deserve this life." Amina's face stayed calm. "I didn't take anything. Bashir made his choices. Hawa made hers." Hotel security led him away. As the door closed, Amina finally exhaled. Mama Zainab texted, "We're praying. God is exposing them." Later that night, Bashir called her. His voice was raw. "I just heard about Usman. Amina, I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know." For the first time in months, Amina believed him. She could hear it, the shame, the relief, the small flicker of dignity left in him. "It wasn't you," she said. "I'm glad you know now, but this doesn't erase what happened." "I know," Bashir whispered, "but I want to stand with you, not against you. Please let me help with the foundation security. Let me protect you and the children." Amina hesitated. Her old reflex would have been to shut him out. But something in his tone, not pleading, not grandstanding, just plain, broke through. "All right," she said softly. "We'll start there. Protection, nothing more." Back home, the children sensed a shift. Daddy was no longer sneaking gifts or making promises. He was showing up to help with school runs, quietly funding a new security system at the foundation, and even attending therapy sessions Mama Zainab approved of. Khadija noticed first. One evening, she slipped a drawing under Amina's door, a picture of their family holding hands, no fighting. At the top, she had written, "Maybe one day." Amina's throat tightened. She taped it to her mirror. 2 weeks later, Amina and Bashir sat under the mango tree behind Mama Zainab's house. The harm was still there between them, but so was a new kind of honesty. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Bashir said, "but I want our children to see us build something better, even if it's just friendship." Amina studied his face. He looked older, but also calmer. "I'm not the same woman," she said. "I won't go back to what broke me, but I believe people can grow." They sat in silence for a long time, listening to the wind through the leaves. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel like war. It felt like space. That night, Amina knelt beside her bed, hands clasped. "Thank you," she whispered, "for exposing the enemy, for giving me strength, for showing my children that justice and compassion can exist together." Her phone buzzed, this time a message from Bashir. "Thank you for letting me try again. No games, just growth." Amina smiled faintly. Outside, the city's night noises rose like a distant choir. She wasn't promising a fairy tale ending, she wasn't promising anything. But she was open to a story where survival could turn into something stronger, not just for herself, but for the whole family. The end! What an incredible journey! Did Amina make the right choice? Would you have given Bashir another chance? Drop your final thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if this story inspired you. Subscribe for more powerful transformation stories. Share this with someone who needs to know their worth. Comment "Justice served" if you loved how this ended. Thank you for following Amina's journey from humiliation to triumph. Remember, you are stronger than you know, and your transformation can inspire others. What story should we tell next? Let us know in the comments.